Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the webinar launch of Biotech for Real Making Competition on Agri-biotech Applications. This webinar is organized by ISAAA Inc. as part of the collaborative Know the Science project in partnership with the Department of Agriculture Biotech Program Office. I am Janine Escasura from ISAAA Inc., and it is my pleasure to serve you as a moderator for today's event. Biotechnology plays an important role in advancing sustainable agriculture, food security, environmental protection, and quality of life. With the growing influence of short-form videos, there is an opportunity to make science communication more engaging, accessible, and relevant. This is the inspiration behind the Biotech for Real, a real-making competition that encourages students, educators, and aspiring content creators to create engaging short-form videos highlighting the applications and relevance of agribiotech in our everyday lives. And we are very excited to officially launch this competition with all of you today. We are expecting more than 100 participants, and we would like to thank each and every one of you for taking the time to be part of this event. So before we proceed, just a few reminders that this webinar will run for 2 hours and will be recorded for documentation and evaluation purposes. Now, before we officially begin, let me quickly remind you of the house rules. First, Zoom attendees are requested to keep their microphones on mute unless invited to speak. We highly encourage our audience to engage and actively participate during the Q&A session. You may also submit your questions using the Zoom Q&A button seen at the bottom of your screens. These questions will be addressed during the Q&A session. Lastly, please complete and fill out the online evaluation form to receive your certificate. A link and QR code will be flashed at the end of the webinar, and only those who have completed the post-webinar survey will be given e-certificates. We also have a set of activity objectives that we would like to achieve at the end of the webinar. So first, this webinar aims to increase awareness and understanding of biotech applications in agriculture, food production, and everyday life. This webinar also aims to introduce the fundamentals of science content creation. And third, this webinar intends to encourage participants to apply their knowledge and creativity by joining the Biotech for Real competition. And lastly, this webinar intends to build public interest and participation in the celebration of the National Biotechnology Week this year. So to formally start the webinar, may we call on the Executive Director of ISAAA Inc. Dr. Aldemita is a multi-awarded scientist and science communicator. She holds a PhD in botany from Purdue University and a postdoctoral fellowship on golden rice at Albert Ludwigs University, Germany. She coordinates the activities of ISAA's Global Knowledge Center on Biotechnology, as well as capacity building activities on biotechnology and biosafety in Asia. She is also a member of the technical advisory team of the Applied Biotechnology Committee of DABPO, a board member of the Biotech Coalition of the Philippines, the editor-in-chief of the Philippine Journal of Crop Science, and a scientific reviewer of 6 scientific journals. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Rodora Romero Aldemita.
Thank you so much, Janine. To everyone, good morning, and to all our distinguished speakers, students, educators, aspiring content creators, and science enthusiasts joining us today, a warm and pleasant morning to all of you. On behalf of ISAAA, the International Service for the Acquisition of Agri-biotech Applications, I am thrilled to welcome you all to the official webinar launch of the Biotech for Real Making Competition on Agri-biotech Applications. For all you know, ISAAA is not-for-profit organization dedicated to being a leading biotech information resource that provides science-based information, capacity building programs, and policy support to farmers and consumers. We feed the world with knowledge, that's what we always say, and support transformative technologies, foster impactful partnerships, and facilitate the development of science-based policies toward food secure communities. And today's webinar is another strategy towards our mission and vision. So now let us explore the intersections of science and digital media. Let us take a moment to ask, what does agricultural biotechnology actually mean for our daily lives? At its core, agri-biotech simply uses living organisms or their parts to create innovation. Every single day, it touches our lives in quiet, profound ways. Think about the soy sauce and vinegar in our kitchens or the crops growing in our fields. Biotech operates quietly in the background. It strengthens our food security, protects the environment, and improves our daily lives. Yet, because these scientific advancements integrate so seamlessly into our everyday routines, many people need to realize how deeply biotechnology enriches our lives. So, to bring these quiet contributions to light, we need to communicate the applications and benefits of biotechnology in ways that are accurate, engaging, and accessible to the public. Currently, as you know, short form videos on platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube have transformed how information is shared and consumed. Thus, today, we take on the challenge to translate the real science into thumb-stopping content that captures attention across feeds. Content creators hold the power to share public perception, and this is what's happening now. They influence mindsets and drive digital conversations. However, as a famous saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. And this is what we need to do. While producing catchy and engaging reels that promote biotechnology is our goal, being responsible digital storytellers is our duty. So, beyond creating eye catching visuals, it is crucial that every video we publish is grounded in facts and backed by science. That is precisely what we are here today. As part of the Know the Science project and a build-up activity for the upcoming 2026 National Biotechnology Week, we are conducting this webinar and competition with the aim of equipping you with both foundational biotech knowledge and the creative toolkit needed to produce engaging, scientifically accurate reels. Well, we hope that this session inspires you to sharpen your creative toolkit and help us foster a community of informed, responsible science communicators. Thank you very much, and we cannot wait to see your ideas become real, or shall I say, real. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma'am Ola. Now, please allow me to introduce you our first speaker for today. Dr. Maribel Zaporteza is an alumna and a faculty member from the Institute of Biological Sciences at the University of the Philippines, Las Bañas. She has a master's degree in molecular biology and biotechnology and a doctoral degree in molecular biosciences and bioengineering from the University of Hawaii in Manoa, USA. She was trained with extensive molecular biology techniques at the Institute of Plant Breeding, which became her foundation to pursue other specializations in tissue culture, plant biochemistry, peptide engineering, mammalian cell culture, and neurobiology. To give us an overview of agri-biotech applications in daily life, please welcome Dr. Maribel Zaporteza.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, but we can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for inviting me to this webinar. I will be introducing the biotechnology overview. So let me just share my slides. Okay. Can you see my slides? Just is it Can you see?
Loading pa po.
Okay,
Yes
loading
po, we
pala.
can see now na po. Thank you.
Nakikita na. So I will be turning off my video so that you can have a faster feed of the images that I will be showing this morning. I heard that this is a competition and I found out that there's a big cash prize. So I'm really excited to see the products of our students for the biotechnology information campaign. And I really wish you luck. So let's begin. So I'm turning off my video. So good morning again, everybody. I will be showing you the overview of biotechnology applications in daily life. So is it? Yeah. So did the biotechnology word come from? So we look at the word biotechnology and it's actually coming from three Greek words. So the first one is bios. We all know the meaning of that. It's life. Techne means craft and logia study. So it's a combination of these three words and it was coined by Karoli Erecki, a Hungarian scientist in 1919 to describe the conversion of raw material to a more useful product. His book actually looks at the fermentation process. In 1919 or the early 1800s, biotechnology was actually means the brewery process. So meaning the creation of beer and wine. So that was one of the most important industries then. Of course, it evolved. The meaning of biotechnology today, I have taken this from the UNESCO website, is that it is the application of biological systems, organisms, or derivatives, so meaning parts of an organism, to develop technologies and products for medical, agricultural, and industrial use. So it means that we can take apart an organism, use its parts, and produce a product. Or we can also use the whole organism to produce a product, such as those that are commonly used in food industry, such as yogurt, wine, cheese. So when we have biological knowledge, we can turn it into technology. So these are some of the most familiar, I guess, products of biotechnology are food products. Of course, when you have your breakfast and you eat pandesal, that's actually a product of biotechnology because the leavening agent is yeast, a whole organism. Also, if you probably have adobo this lunchtime or kare-kare, you will be including some fermented products such as soy sauce and vinegar or bagoong. And if you are like me, I like to drink probiotic drinks because I feel that it makes me healthier. But this is also including some bacterial organism that ferments milk. And if you are a little bit older and you want to relax, you probably have taken some beer, wine, and together with some cheese. So these are more familiar biotech products that are actually produced by microorganisms. So these are bacteria that are beneficial and was able to produce new products. So these are familiar to us, but when we go to the medical field, we actually also use biotechnology. If you have taken antibiotics when you are sick, or let's say aspirin, so antibiotics come from bacteria or fungi that help kill other bacteria, harmful ones, or a harmful fungi that causes us to be sick. So these are also coming. So parts from the bacteria, so an enzyme can be made into antibiotic. And aspirin is actually coming from the original aspirin is actually coming from the bark of a tree. So it was purified and it's now used. Aspirin was used before to be a fever reducer. So nowadays, aspirin is used for a blood thinner. And if you have family members who have high blood sugar, meaning they are diabetic, they have probably used insulin. So insulin, later on, I will discuss it a little bit deeper, is one of the products of biotechnology. Used to be for patients with diabetes had a hard time to control their sugar because insulin was actually extracted from pig pancreas. But nowadays, we have abundant supply of insulin because of biotechnology. And if you have ever been in an allergic reaction, let's say you're allergic to peanuts or seafood, you have probably taken epinephrine to save your life so that your airways won't get blocked. So you need to relax your muscles. So you have epinephrine to help you with that. So these are just some of the products of biotechnology that are active in medical use. But there are also other products of biotechnology, such as fibers taken from plants, such as cotton and abaca fibers that are now used in industrial settings, such as making insulation and car parts. There's also silk. So silk is one of the I think very interesting biotechnology product because it comes from the silk coming from an insect, Bombyx mori, so the silkworm. And if you like to use cosmetics, that many women and probably a lot of skincare that is now trending, some of the ingredients actually come from plants and some microorganisms. So some fermented products such as Pitera, one of the main components of one of the famous brands, come from fermented rice. And also some of the extracts from plants are used in cosmetics and skincare. So these are products that we use actually in our daily life. So we are exposed to them, but because we are always seeing them around us, sometimes we take them for granted. But there's actually a big area of science that are studying. A lot of people studying biotechnology in order to deliver better products for our community. So who are biotechnologists? So biotechnology is actually multidisciplinary, meaning you can have different fields of interest and still be involved in producing biotech products. So some of the fields involved are microbiology, biochemistry, even computer science, agriculture, immunology, genetics, engineering, medicine, and forestry. So these are just a few, and some of them, of course, are now involved, such as bioinformatics and the study of genomics. So biotechnology has actually evolved from ancient fermentation process to a more advanced genetic engineering techniques. So there are stages of development such as from before in the ancient times, we have traditional biotechnology. Most of the products here were actually discovered mostly accidentally, I think. So, and more of them are actually food products. In classical biotechnology, we are now using some uh, um, um, knowledge from chemistry in order to increase or make advances in the brewery industry. And in modern biotechnology, we will be using molecular knowledge, molecular information. So from traditional methods to modern biotechnology, the early fermentation products that were developed by our ancestors were mainly made through accident. So bread comes from the fermentation of wheat using yeast. And then we have barley. The product would be beer and grapes. And cheeses, in the Philippines, we use tuba, basi, tapoy, patis, toyo. So these are actually made accidentally. Most of the, let's say, grapes were extracted here by Egyptians. It's actually in the wall hieroglyphics. So even then, around 3,000 to 4,000 years ago, Egyptians were already making beer and wine through the fermentation process. But of course, they did not completely understand what drives the fermentation. So they just collected the wine and beer and used it for their food. In essence, if you look at the definition of biotechnology, it also uses whole organism. So if we use whole organism, so in agriculture itself, it means that it is actually a type of biotechnology because we are selecting parents or the parentals of plants that we develop artificially. So we are choosing different breeds or lines of um, different plants and animals to actually produce a better um, product for food supply. So here we have just few examples. So we have watermelon. So before, watermelon had a lot of seeds and not a lot of flesh. The same with bananas, but because of the artificial selection of our ancestors, we were able to develop some seedless and bananas and watermelon. So here we also have an example for corn. Corn is actually coming from teosinte. So teosinte has very few kernels, but of course, now we are familiar with the corn plant. We have a lot of kernels. And we also have little eggplants or aubergine, the carrot, and this is like a mustard grass, which is actually the ancestor of the cabbages, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and many others. So without the interference or intervention, I guess, of humans, we would not have the crops that we have today. This is one of my favorite slides because there were some information, fake information actually before, that chickens that we have today are transgenic. So actually they're not. So chickens, the one we eat, the one probably that you eat from Jollibee or KFC or many other fast food chains, were actually developed through a very rigid animal breeding process. So if you look at the photograph here, so in 1957, in 56 days, the chickens only weighed around a kilogram, or 905 grams. In 1978, it was around double that weight. So, and in 2005, after 56 days, we can now have a 4 kilogram chicken. So this is actually produced by a very intensive breeding program to develop chicken. So these are broiler chickens that can grow faster so that we can actually have faster production of meat and poultry products. So it's not transgenic. Later on, I will talk about what transgenics or GMO are. So the chickens in the grocery store are actually selected, highly selected lines for production. So when we go to modern biotechnology, so this is the definition. So these are a collection of scientific techniques used to improve plants, animals, and microorganisms based on an understanding of the DNA. So the DNA is actually the chemical that makes up your genes. So genes are the basic units of heredity. So these are the characteristics which are inherited from our parents. So the full name of DNA is deoxyribonucleic acid. And this is the molecule that carries the genetic information of organisms. So this is what these four scientists were actually the key people that discovered the structure of the DNA. They are Rosalind Franklin, Maurice Wilkins, and these two guys here in 1953 and 2004, James Watson and Francis Crick. So they published in 1953, James Watson and Francis Crick proposed the model, the double helix model, that many of you are probably familiar today, of the DNA. So all of them already passed away, and three of them, Maurice Wilkins, James Watson, and Francis Crick, was able to get the Nobel Prize. Rosalind Franklin passed away before she was granted that prize. So DNA is actually made up of several parts. So you have the sugar phosphate backbone, and the nitrogenous bases. So the backbone, the sugar and the phosphate, creates the spiral. So it's like a base, or it's a strong um, ladder, the one that you take a hold of. And the inside, or the steps of the ladder that is twisted, is actually made of nitrogenous bases, which has specific base pairing. So the nitrogenous base create an alphabet. So G for guanine, C for cytosine, A for adenine, and T for thymine. And they have a specific base pairing. So adenine with thymine, guanine with cytosine. So this one, as you can see in the photograph, so you can actually arrange the letters in different ways. And also, it has a specific base pairing which creates the double helical formation. So all of organisms on Earth share the same chemical composition of, or at least the structure of the DNA. And we just differ from each other by the sequence of the nitrogenous bases. So the nitrogenous bases inside the DNA actually dictate the different characteristics that each organism has. So for example, we have brown hair. Here you have wings, feathers, be able to have gills to swim, and then, of course, have wings. So these are characteristics of different organisms are dictated in their genetic information made up of DNA. So DNA actually follows a specific information pathway. So this is called the central dogma of molecular biology. So DNA is the information. So this is stored inside your nucleus. And when you need to pass it on to your progeny, meaning your children, it is replicated through meiosis and mitosis through the replication process. And if you need to express the information encoded in the DNA, you have to go through the transcription process and the translation process, meaning the transcription is the conversion of the genetic code in DNA into an intermediary product called the RNA, also a nucleic acid. And the RNA is now translated into proteins, or the polypeptide, that is actually the action molecules that produces the phenotype of an organism. So from this knowledge, we now produce a specific kind of technology, mostly associated with the word modern biotechnology, and that is genetic engineering. So genetic engineering is the direct modification of an organism's genome by using biotechnology, and it is sometimes also termed recombinant DNA technology. So genetically modified organisms, or GMO, are also called transgenics. And these are organisms produced by genetic modification. So here we can also have GMO bacteria, plants, fungi, and so forth. So the first application, I think a popular application of genetic engineering is actually in healthcare. So I have mentioned insulin before, and the use of recombinant biotechnology really advanced the production of insulin. In the 1970s, insulin was actually produced by extracting it from the pancreas of pigs. So it's actually a very expensive process. So what happened was scientists in the 1980s were able to isolate the gene that makes insulin. They were able to transfer or ligate it into a plasmid, it's a bacterial DNA, and combine the human insulin gene with a recombinant plasmid. So after you get the recombinant DNA containing the insulin gene, it is transformed into bacterial cells. And now the bacterial cells was able to produce insulin in a bioreactor. Now, the insulin is later purified and now being supplied in medical pharmacies. So most of our vaccines are now also developed this way. If you remember the COVID um, pandemic before, so our vaccines and drugs are actually produced through biotechnology. It's also applied in gene therapy and diagnostic technology, meaning to find out if you're sick or not. So in diagnostics, if you remember during the pandemic, we were tested using the RT-PCR tests. So if you've had that swab placed in your nose, it was really kind of, it was, it, it hurt quite a bit because they really probe your nose and then they get samples and then they use a machine in order to test if you are a carrier or you are infected with the SARS-CoV-2. This technique or molecular-based technique is also used to screen individuals who have cancer or certain other diseases. The disease might not manifest yet because of the, let's say, the age of the patient, but if you have had relatives or parents who suffered from diseases such as cancer, mostly cancer, or inherited diseases like phenylketonuria, or any other inherited disease, you might want to think about testing your genetic information. Check your using PCR if you are a carrier, or most likely you will be developing the disease so that you can manage it better. So these are tests. The most famous, I think, that had this kind of test would be the actress Angelina Jolie. Earlier, her grandmother and her mother also suffered from ovarian cancer and breast cancer. So she had herself tested, and indeed she was a carrier of the mutated BRCA1 gene, which is linked to occurrence of these cancers. So what she did was to actually have surgery to remove the organ. So she had her breasts removed. She also had her uterus removed in order to prevent the formation of the cancer itself. So in agricultural biotechnology, we actually use modern biotechnology to transform the food production. So it improves agricultural efficiency by increasing crop resistance, increased productivity, and added nutritional values. So from the 1980s to today, many scientists around the world are developing pest-resistant crops, drought-tolerant or climate change crops, or those that are crops that would be sustained throughout the changes in the climate, and of course, nutritionally enhanced crops. So here are some of the examples of crops available in the United States. So, and also in the Philippines, we have corn, the biotech corn. We also have BT cotton, actually here in the Philippines. We have eggplant, the BT eggplant, and of course, the golden rice or malasug rice. So all of these in the photograph are actually available now in the United States. So they have GM pink pineapple, the virus-resistant papaya. They have the Roundup Ready soybean or herbicide-resistant soybean, and many others. So this is just a quick, I guess I always flash this slide whenever I have a seminar, because I'd like you to see what the differences would be if there is a genetically modified organism in the choices. So here we have different crops. So which one do you think is transgenic or GMO? So is it the first one? As you can see, the garlic is very large, but it's actually a variety of garlic, the garlic called elephant garlic. So it's not genetically modified. The second one is, of course, BT cotton. So it is resistant to the borer. So the next one is a citrus plant, actually. It's a citrus fruit called Buddha's hand. So this is not GM. This is not genetically modified. It really looks like that. Most of these Buddha's hand is found in China. So the next photograph is our carrots. We are familiar with the orange carrot. So is this genetically modified because it has purple and yellow carrots? Actually, it's not. These are naturally occurring varieties also of carrot. It's just that the orange carrot is the most popular. And then in the middle is actually rainbow papaya, or the virus-resistant papaya. Next one, the yellow rice, is actually malusog rice. That's golden rice. The one in the bottom is white strawberries. So actually, strawberries can come in white color. So this is also a naturally occurring variety. And the square watermelon is also non-GMO. These are molded. And in the middle is actually an apple with an orange inside. So meaning you don't have to believe whatever is floating around in the internet. You have to really research about it, because this is actually a photoshopped picture. So there is no apple with orange inside. So just to make you understand that some of the plants actually that occurs naturally are not familiar looking. So not all of them, you need to actually have a genetic test, because GMO products are really similar or almost the same as equivalent to their non-GMO counterpart. So this is one of the products also of genetic engineering, which is the Aqua Advantage salmon. So it grows faster than the non-transgenic one. And in industrial biotechnology, we also apply biotechnology to actually produce better fuels and enzyme-based manufacturing. So here we can use the debris of processing from agricultural lands, such as cotton stalk, sugarcane gas after extracting sugar, soybean hulls, and corn fiber to produce bioethanol or biobutanol, and use GM or genetically modified bacteria to enhance the fermentation process. And then also, do you know that in your detergent or laundry detergent, there's actually a whole science that produces new enzymes that help you degrade dirt and grime from your clothes. So there are actually organisms that produces proteases and lipases in order to enhance or make your laundry detergent work better. And in the environment, we also use biotechnology to protect our ecosystems using bioremediation, meaning we use different bacteria, some genetically modified, some not, and use them to actually convert polluted waters for polluted areas, and also look at how degradation process, especially of plastics, are now done in order to lessen the waste or the garbage that is actually produced by communities. So we are trying to produce sustainable system in order to restore the ecosystem and reduce pollution, and managing our waste products using bioinformatics to model how fast many of our packaging material are degraded. Some scientists also produce different packaging materials that are easily biodegradable than before. So what are the future trends? So here we now have a term also coming from genetic engineering, which is called genome editing. And this is genetic mutation of a predetermined loci or a region in the genome using site-specific nucleases. So I guess the most popular one would be CRISPR. So some of the products that I will mention would be advanced gene therapy for sickle cell disease. This has been approved in the United States. So this is a treatment for sickle cell anemia. And also here in the Philippines, we have already approved the tropic non-browning gene-edited bananas. Also approved here for production and consumption here in the Philippines would be GABA enriched tomato coming from Japan. So these are tomatoes which has high gamma aminobutyric acid, which is helpful in maintaining our heart health. And also in Japan, they have gene-edited sea breams and fugu fish for bigger production. So it's faster growing fishes in their aquacultures. So for a conclusion, so I now end um, my discussion or my seminar that there is a very big impact of biotechnology. So biotechnology products are actually all around us. It can either be conventional, transgenic, or gene edited. And these will soon be available in the world and on our Philippine market. And biotechnology products are science and evidence based, meaning it is actually based on molecular data, information that comes from our DNA. And biotechnology supports the progress in medicine, agriculture, industry, and environmental protection. So, with this, I thank everybody for listening. I hope this will help you in making your biotechnology reels. And if you have any questions and if you want to contact us, I have given my email, and I am actually part of the Genetics and Molecular Biology Division of the Institute of Biological Sciences here at UPLB. So with this, I hope you have learned something, and I wish everybody good luck in joining your Biotech for Real contest.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zaperteza, for the very comprehensive presentation and for giving our audience an overview of the agri-biotech applications in daily life. So everyone, let us give Dr. Zaperteza a virtual round of applause. So if you have any questions for our first speaker, you may now send them through the Zoom Q&A function, and we will answer them later during the Q&A session. Moving on to our next speaker, we have Dr. Lloyd Balinado, an associate professor and director of the Knowledge Management Center at Cavite State University. Dr. Balinado is an academic and researcher specializing in economic botany. He holds a PhD in botany from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños. Beyond research and academe, Dr. Balinado has always been actively involved in science communication through short-form video content. In 2022, he was among the top 10 finalists of the Pinoy Star, or Science and Technology Advocate for Research Camp, and was later recognized as one of the 3 Pinoy Science Stars. This initiative sought to identify and develop potential science communicators who could effectively promote science and technology through social media. To talk about creating engaging science content, everyone please welcome Dr. Lloyd O. Valinado.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning po. Good morning sa lahat. Let me now share my screen. All right. So again, good morning, everyone, and thank you, kay Dr. Zaportesa po for giving us an overview about biotechnology, its applications, products. So now it's my turn to give you some tips on how you can make effective reels using that knowledge in biotechnology. So this is about creating engaging science content tips for making effective reels. All right. So many people think that you need studio or perhaps a degree in film just to make an impact. But to tell you the truth, you don't need to be a professional content creator just to make a site that people will watch. So you, as scientists and as communicators, you already have that hardest part, and that is the knowledge. And my goal today is to show you how to take that expertise and make it understandable, interesting, and most importantly, worth watching. So I hope through this presentation, we can learn to bridge the gap between the laboratory and the lens. So there is this common myth, no, that for you to make high quality content, you need to have this expensive lighting, professional microphones, or sometimes an entire film crew. But look at this reality that some of the most impactful science communication today is done with nothing more than a smartphone and a laboratory specimen. So your focus here shouldn't be on the gear, but rather on the content. So if you can make a complex biotechnological concept relatable using the tool just in your pocket, then I can tell you that you've already won half the battle. So moving from the lecture hall, no, to the For You page, that requires a fundamental mindset shift. So in a lecture, we usually start with a broad, rigid topic and say, hello, today we will learn about this and that, blah, blah, blah. But for a reel, we need to be more human. We need to be more curious. And in a reel, we trade that everything you need to know to or for a one main takeaway. And instead of just telling the audience the facts, the biotechnological facts, what we do with a reel is that we show them the science in action. So this shift is what turns a student or a social media user into a viewer of your own content. And to help you build your biotech for real entry, so let's establish this framework that a good science reel, it is a combination of the hook, value, visuals, personality, and action. And when we say hook, it tells your audience, why should I or why should they keep watching your content? And later I will talk more about this hook. And then for value, what will I learn from your content? For the visuals, can I see what you're explaining or it's just you seeming like a talking head? No? So later we will also talk about this. Then for personality, why should I listen to you as the presenter of this biotechnological concept? And then for the action, what should I think, do, or explore next? So it's more on the takeaway from your presentation, from your content. So this is the master blueprint that we will use for the rest of this session. Again, remember that for you to have a good reel, so you have to have that hook, value, the visuals, the personality, and the action. And our first tip for this session is to start with a compelling idea, not just a broad topic. So, a topic like biotechnology in agriculture. So, that's very broad. So, that tells people what you're talking about. But when we talk about an idea, it tells them why they should watch your content. So in making a reel, we can use this idea engine. So maybe we can start with your topic like CRISPR, which Dr. Mabel has introduced earlier. CRISPR, the cluster singularly interspaced short palindromic repeats, one of the emerging gene editing tool. And then maybe we can ask an interesting question. Can we edit a plant's DNA? And maybe we can add a surprising fact. What if we can change one trait without changing the whole plant? And maybe we can connect it to their everyday life. Could gene editing help crops deal with disease? And when you all meet this, then that is how you find your real idea. Why your audience care about the disease-proof crops of the future. So that's your takeaway. No? And tip number two, you have to win the first 3 seconds. And that's very critical because the battle for attention is won or lost in the first 3 seconds. So yeah, if you look at this retention curve, if you start with, hello everyone, today we're going to talk about this and that, blah, blah, blah. So your viewers drop off instantly. So what you need is to have a strong visual hook or maybe a direct question. You can try asking a what if question, like what if we could make crops more resistant to disease? Or a surprising question or a surprise. surprising fact that this plant has been modified, but not how you think, similar to the presentation of Dr. Mabel, no? So you can also pose a challenge. Can you tell which of these plants use biotechnology? Or myth busting a common misconception that no, biotech isn't just about GM crops. So you can create a question in their mind that your real will eventually answer. Next tip. So please tell only one science story. So you must resist the urge to deliver a full lecture. Remember that in a 60-second format, a short form video, one reel does not equate to one lecture. So instead, one reel should have one main idea. So you don't need to try to explain everything you need to know about biotechnology. You can use this content funnel to isolate that very single story that you can make content about. So, like, how can a plant protect itself from caterpillars? So, you can use this simple architecture, hook, explain, example, and provide the takeaway. And that's already enough for you to make an impact without overwhelming your target audience. Tip number 4, translate. Okay, so as communicators, your goal is to make this scientific information easy to understand without oversimplifying the mechanics. So you can use this explain, compare, show method. So instead of using the heavy jargon about Cas9 endonucleases and the genomic loci, so you can try using a comparison. For example, think of CRISPR-like molecular scissors guided to a specific place in the DNA. So, based on this, you are using a simple language, a simpler language that can be easily understood by the public, but you are still keeping the scientific accuracy. So that's very critical, huh? That you need to keep the scientific accuracy. And the ultimate test for you to know that if you're at the right track, you try showing your content to a 15-year-old. If that person can easily understand your explanation, you're on the right track. Tip number 5, maximize the use of visuals. So as mentioned earlier, don't be a talking head. No? So don't just say it to the camera, show it to the audience. So a 30-second talking head video, that's static, that's boring. So you have to make it more dynamic. So you can use a mix of field footage, macro shots of crops. You can use diagrams. You can use evidences like laboratory results, publications. And for biotechnology, you can also use your unique access. For example, if you have real specimens in schools, if you have laboratory materials, if you have a repository of field scenes, those will make excellent visuals. Remember that every few seconds, the viewer should see something new that reinforces what you're saying, and it will also keep them engaged throughout the video. Next, use captions. Treat the on-screen captions as a vital part of your storytelling toolkit. Pwede namang wala, pero it's helpful, no? It uh, it serves as a retention tool. So keep them short. You can emphasize keywords like molecular scissors or like targeted DNA editing. And make sure to make them readable with high contrast. And also, you have to be strategic. Kailan nyo ilalagay itong mga caption na to? So yung proper timing, you also have to consider that. And using captions will also make your content still meaningful even if the audio is off. No? Even if the audio is off, the story should still make perfect sense through your visuals and the captions alone. Kasi there are uh, viewers who just look at the video without an audio, di ba? So at least using captions, you can still deliver your message. Next, and this is my favorite tip. Be a scientist, but more importantly, be a human being. So you have this institutional approach like standing behind a podium that is rigid. The human approach, It uses a natural voice, it uses facial expressions, humor, your genuine curiosity. So instead of saying, today we will discuss biotechnology, maybe you can try, I brought something from the lab that can help us understand this and that. No? So remember that people don't just follow information. In social media, people follow people uh, who make information interesting. So that's our goal, to make this biotechnological concept, this highly technical concept, more interesting and more understandable. Now, putting it all together into the anatomy of a perfect biotech reel, remember that in the first 3 seconds, you use the hook and idea engine to stop the scroll with a direct question. Then throughout the video, you can use the content funnel to deliver one clear story, but with dynamic visuals. You also have to have short keyword focused captions as a constant guide to your audience. And you can end with your human personality, providing the payoff and a clear call to action. So ano yung takeaway nila, no? It should be clear at the end of the video. And as you prepare your Biotech for Real competition entry, you can run through this final checklist. So you can ask yourself, is there one clear message in my content? Would I keep watching after 3 seconds? Is the science accurate? Am I showing, not just telling? Can the story be followed without sound? Or does this video sound or look like me? Did I actually answer the question I raised in the first place? So remember that the goal isn't simply to make a reel gets views. Your goal is to make a reel that makes someone curious about biotechnology, about science. So you have to make them stop with your content, make them curious, make them understand, and with that, I can't wait to see your biotech for real entries. That would be all, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, Dr. Balinado, for providing our audience with very useful tips on how to create a more engaging science content. So definitely this presentation of our speakers have given us more knowledge about agri-biotech applications as well as in content creation. So again, thank you very much, Dr. Balinado. Let us give him a round of applause. So that concludes our presentations for today. We encourage everyone to submit your questions through the Zoom Q&A function. So for our Q&A session, we have Senior Associate Scientist of ISAAA Inc., Mr. Panfilo de Guzman, to moderate the discussion. Our speakers, Dr. Zaperteza and Dr. Balinado, please turn on your cameras for this Q&A session. So Sir Poppen, the floor is now yours.
Okay, thank you, Janine. Thank you very much for our speakers, for those very interesting topics. So we have one question here. I think this one is addressed to Doc Maribel regarding the safety of biotech crops and biotech products. So how will you convince people that BT crops or products are safe to consume? And this question is from James Christopher Tumangan.
Okay. So I have not discussed because of time limitations that in the Philippines, we actually have an agency under the Department of Science and Technology which deals with the safety of our biotech products. So we have the National Biosafety Committee of the Philippines, or NCBP, who actually regulates the science of using recombinant DNA technology here in the Philippines. So whenever we have experiments that involves recombinant DNA technology, we have to apply to this agency. And after this, if it moves from, let's say, you already develop a product that is ready for, let's say, field testing or commercialization, then it goes through regulation policy. So it's actually JDC number 1, which actually involves the analysis of different departments of the Philippines. So we have the Department of Agriculture, the Department of Science and Technology, we have the Department of Health, and then we have the We also involve the local governing unit where you are, if ever you're going to do testing, field testing. And then we have, of course, the decision-making team. So there's actually DNR is also included if there is actually checking of, let's say, ecological safety of your product. So it's actually the decision of 5 major agencies in the Philippines that actually regulates the safety. So if it is actually for consumption, we have the DA, the DOST, and the Department of Health, which actually checks if the product is safe. So this actually is a whole agency. So it's a national agency filled with different scientists of different fields that actually rigorously test the products before it really gets approval, before it reaches the market. So if you look at our track, actually here in the Philippines, we only have how many products in the market? Actually, it's only BT corn now because we still have SC regulation still needs to be clarified with BT eggplant and golden rice or malusog rice. But the safe ones are actually the BT cotton is now out, but it's not for food consumption, but it's actually safe, and also the BT corn. So I guess behind those scientific minds is actually um, yeah, you
Yeah,
need to
okay.
be secure with the safety.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I think this question will help our possible for those who will join our reel making contest. Maybe they can choose a topic. So, how does biotechnology contribute to food security, and how can it address uh, climate challenges that we are experiencing now?
Would you like
Dr.
this?
Yeah, Dr. Marvel.
Oh yeah.
So you have not talked
So
about the benefits, so maybe you can talk now about the benefits of the
oh
technology
yeah. If
when it comes to food security and
food security, of
addressing
course, we would like to
climate challenges.
yeah, food security means that we have a growing population, so we need to supply increasing amounts of food. So, and but land does not grow, right? So we
Yeah.
have limited land area, especially now that most of them are really being converted into homes. So we need to increase the production of the land. So we can use biotechnology, modern biotechnology, to actually select for characteristics that are actually beneficial to plant production, meaning they can be more resistant to pests, so that if there are pests that can invade the fields, of course, there is loss in production. So if we can produce I guess the best example would this be BT corn, because before we used to have huge loss in the production of corn because of the corn borer. But because we have used BT corn for a long time, since 2002, I think, so we now have secure supply of corn because we have developed corn that are resistant to this pest. But of course, we can also apply biotechnology by selecting genes that are also used for climate resilience, such as drought tolerance. So we now have longer periods of no rain, or even longer periods of being so much in rain like what we are having today. So
Yeah.
this is also a problem called waterlogging. So our plants cannot resist, and also if they break apart, fall down. So if we can increase the strength of the stems and also increase the utilization of the water supply and the nutrients for these plants using specific genes, then we can also increase the resilience of crops if they encounter different conditions, such as changing climate. So you can actually look for different specific traits in, I guess, in the genes of different plants. So you can
Okay.
actually take a gene from a completely different and put it in another plant.
Okay. Thank you very much. There's a Dr. Lloyd. You mentioned about hook in your presentation. So, what makes a good hook for a science-related reel, and how can creators capture attention within the first few seconds of the reels that they will produce?
Actually, yun nga pong hook, no, it's very critical, no? Kasi remember, yung ating mga audience ngayon, they have a short attention span. So they need to be hooked during the first 3 seconds so that they will watch the entire video. So maybe, as mentioned earlier, you can try asking a question, or maybe you can give a surprising fact, or maybe you can try to challenge the audience. And with those, you can actually uh, um, catch the attention of your audience. And you can also try showing your content to a younger individual so that if he or she is hooked within the first 3 seconds, then you're on the right track. And maybe I can add to that question earlier on how you can convince people that BT crops or products are safe to consume. Actually,
Mm-hmm.
you can maybe use this as content, no? And
Yeah.
the misconceptions on about biotechnology. So you can make a content about that. Maybe you can make a content on from the field, from the laboratory to the field to the table. Yun po.
Okay. There's a question here from Miss Hannah Corinne Cantaros. To you, Dr. Lloyd. Considering not everyone is able to access the social media, what do you think are other ways we can disseminate information on biotechnology, hoping that people will be open to utilizing biotech products?
Okay po. Especially ito po ay sa mga ano po, no? Uh, not so young generations.
Yeah,
No? Kasi
all right.
most younger generations already have social media. But for those who are from the older generations, but
Or maybe
still
not those who
uh,
are not tech savvy.
about tech savvy,
Yeah.
then you can tell information about biotechnology through other or traditional means, perhaps. For example, in some cases, they use brochures that are um, given to farmers or to fisher folks, no, so that they can adopt a particular technology. No, so these
Mhm,
are a possible intervention on how you can communicate scientific information to a larger public.
mhm. Okay. Given that biotechnology products and I mean the tools and are highly technical, how can you simplify complex scientific concepts without sacrificing accuracy? Maybe ask first Dr. Maribel and then Dr. Lloyd.
Actually, it's quite hard to laymanize a lot of the technical terms. So we
Mm-hmm.
try to simplify using common words, but actually of course, when they actually, I try to make them interested first, because later on, when they encounter the scientific term, they would actually try to research it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of also a hook. Uh, if you because it's actually difficult, because when you oversimplify something, then people would think that it's actually quite easy to make biotech crops. It's actually not. It's actually quite hard. It takes quite a lot of years and experience, but for information's sake, that they understand how it is made, basically. So it kind of hooks them that, oh, you can do it. But when you actually research on it, it's not that easy. Actually, it's not just cut and paste. So when you get them interested, you actually go much deeper into the science, and then they later understand it. And some of the listeners actually contact me sometimes. So I just
Mm-hmm.
be open and then give them the information that they are looking for.
How about you, Dr. Lloyd?
Opo, no?
How
Similar.
can you simplify the complex scientific concepts without sacrificing
Yun nga po,
accuracy?
sabi po ni Doc Mabel, that's actually the challenge po, no, on how you're
Yeah.
going to laymanize these scientific terms or scientific terminologies. So that's actually the challenge po dito sa Biotech for Real competition po, no. Uh, but may natandan nga po before na sabi nila, not all scientists are good communicators. Sabi po
Mhm.
nila yan,
Yeah,
no.
that's right.
But we in the audience, we have here individuals with backgrounds na science, and I believe they are also good communicators. So it's already a good mixture, a good combination. So it's also it takes experience also. If you keep on making contents about science, so makukuha mo po yung ano yung kumbaga um, yung dito, yung tool or yung expertise na on how to laymanize these terms, no? So I think you just keep on doing video content, with doing science communication, and through that you will know how to easily simplify this scientific terms with scientific accuracy.
Mm. So, what do you think is the what biotech topic would be easiest to turn into an engaging reel, and why do you think it is and why? Uh, Maybe we can have first Dr. Lloyd. So, so what do you
As
think is
mentioned
the
po kanina ni Doc
yeah,
Mabel po,
the
no?
topic that will be
Very
easiest to turn into a good reel that
na-mention
is
po
more
kanina Doc
engaging, I
Mabel
think.
na
Yeah.
na yung biotechnology is really multidisciplinary, no? And it's also has a lot of applications, no?
Mm-hmm.
So kumbaga, as mentioned ko rin po kanina, you don't need to discuss everything. You just need to have a one good story from this broad biotechnological topic. So maybe they can look into those interesting applications, those applications which are up to date, which are of interest to your target audience. Also, you have to identify who your target audience will be. So ba ay mga senior high school students? Are these college students? Are this
Mm-hmm.
the wider public pa? So depending on who your audience will be, you can also choose the most appropriate topic for them. Ano po?
Mm-hmm.
Kasi what will, meron po kasing topic na interest para sa mga kabataan pero hindi naman para sa iba. No?
Yeah.
So you
Mm-hmm.
really have to weigh those things.
Anything you can add, Dr. Maribel?
I think when you look at yung nangyayari ngayon, ano yung topic na parang uso din? And then you
Mm-hmm.
take it to the biotechnology side. So I can suggest one, because of the rain, lumabas yung mga basura. Ang dami-dami pala nating basura. So how can you solve that with biotechnology? So that's one question that you can answer for, let's say, as short content. What are the ways that biotechnology is helping in, waste management? So malaki actually field yon, even if you look at yung basura lang. Or you can look at beautiful things outside your your window. There are
Mm-hmm.
flowers, there are insects, interesting insects, different organisms. So kahit nga magpatubo ka lang ng mold sa tinapay, I've seen a reel before that it became really, really interesting because na-zoom niya ng todo-todo yung mga molds na tumubo sa tinapay niya. So I guess it's really on how you are interested also in the topic that you want to show. Kung
Yeah.
interesado ka,
Mm-hmm.
translate yun sa audience mo. So, nadadala mo rin sila dun sa istorya na ginagawa mo. So, lumalakas tuloy din yun. Marami naiinteresado kasi interesado ka din.
So parang you are suggesting na yung mga content should be more relatable to the Filipino audiences,
Yes. Oh, of
what they
course.
experience every day.
Mm-hmm. Of
Okay,
course.
thanks very much. There is a question here from Mr. Cesar Villarus. I don't know who this one is addressed to, but maybe I can ask both of you to answer it. How can this reel making help bridge the gap with regards to biotechnology application to human needs and the reluctant way of thinking of our society, most importantly, the farmers and other food producing sector of our society? So how can this, I mean, maybe the question is about uh, how can these reels that will be produced can bridge the knowledge gap uh, for the farmers and those who are not really knowledgeable about the technology, including the science of it and the benefits of the technology. Dr. Mabel?
I think this kind of media can actually help yung mas spark muna yung unang interes.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, it's the first interest and then the hook. Yeah, yung sinasabi nga ni Sir Lloyd. Yung unang interest kasi malayo yung nadarating na. Like first impressions last. So when you are actually interested that there's a hook, like it can help you. How can it help me? Parang ayun na yung ano mo how can it help me? Nandun pala siya sa everyday, hindi ko na napapansin, biotech pala yon. It's one of the things that actually na it's not actually filling the gap really because the gap is quite large to fill in by a 1 minute video. But
Mhm.
the interest itself that, oh, meron palang product na ganito, bakit walang nakakarating sa amin? I have had some farmers ask me that na, bakit meron pala nun, bakit hindi pa nakakarating sa amin? So you give them the information. And then if they start supporting na, oh, then they can actually have yung mga cooperatives nila. They can also ask their local government, bakit nagsisimula meron pala tayo ng ganon? And then it creates support for the Department of Science and Technology, which we really need. So, nasusuportahan din yung scientist na gumagawa. Nagka-cascade kasi yung reaction kahit 1 minuto lang yung pinagsimulan.
Okay. Anything you can add, Dr. Lloyd?
Okay po, no? Siguro share ko lang, no, that during this age, content creation is really an in-demand thing, no?
Mhm.
So as an aspiring content creator, I think you have to build your credibility so that those people who are reluctant to advancements, for example, will believe what you are saying in your contents. And as you can see in various social media platforms, there are a lot of content creators. There are a lot of creators who are turning science into contents that are
Mhm.
palatable to the public. And you have to distinguish yourself from being a content creator to being an influencer, because those two are different personalities, no? Because if you're a content creator, you're after the content, you're after the meaning of the content. But if you're an influencer, you are more on after the views, after the uh, the compensation, parang ganun, na. But if you're a content creator, you're after what's your story is about. So if you have already built your credibility in various social media platforms, then I believe you can help um in disseminating real information,
Mhm.
in myth busting, misconceptions. So yun po.
Okay. There is one question here, I think, for you, Dr. Lloyd. Is there any software or apps that can be used in making reels? Do you know of any software or apps?
Actually, marami naman pong video editing apps right now.
Okay.
Iba nga po, even yung mismong TikTok po ang ginagamit nila for editing. Iba naman po ay ibang mga downloadable applications.
CapCut, I
Even
think.
Canva has its feature for content creation. So maybe you can explore po yung mga ganong platforms.
Okay. I think the last question would be what advice both of you can give our participants who are knowledgeable about science but have the little experience with social media content creation. First, Dr. Maribel.
Ako hindi rin naman ako maki-social media actually. Hindi ako ano
Mhm.
diyan. I'm just I've been doing this science communication especially for biotechnology. Na-realize ko for almost 10 years na pala. So I guess for me giving information, the right one to get informed decision for our community is what drives me. para magkaroon sila ng enough information to decide for themselves. That's what drives me. If you have
Mhm.
something like that, may layunin kayo na gano'n para mas lalong mapa-improve pa ang community natin, then go ahead. I mean, okay lang na wala pa muna kayong views, okay lang yon. Basta meron kayong layunin talaga to spread the right information.
Okay, Dr. Lloyd, any advice?
For this
Your
competition po, no?
your last word.
Especially for those who do not have any experience on content creation, I think my advice would be you need to plan ahead. Plan
Uh-huh.
ahead, especially if you're going to make an entry out of a group work, then brainstorm, do brainstorming, and keep yourself abreast of the current news on biotechnology. And if you really want to be or to be a content creator, as mentioned nga po ni Doc Mabel, no? Kung kahit konti yung views, okay lang. Because the key in content creation daw po is consistency. So as long as you keep on posting videos that are in line with your advocacy, then time will come na magbo-boom din niya.
Okay, I think with that, we will end this Q&A session. Let us give our two resource speakers a virtual round of applause. And I am giving back the microphone, the virtual microphone to Janine. Janine, you can take the floor now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sir Poppen, for moderating the Q&A session. Now we come to one of the highlights of today's webinar, the official launch of the Biotech for Real Making Competition on Agri-biotech Applications. So I'm sure many of you are now excited to start creating your reels. So let me walk you through the key mechanics and requirements for this competition. So first, the competition is open to all Filipino citizens residing in the Philippines. However, employees, staff, and immediate family members of the organizers are not allowed to participate. And the good news is, participation is completely free. There is no registration fee or entry fee required. Participants may join individually or as a group of up to 5 members. Each individual or group may submit one original reel. Your reel should showcase how biotechnology is applied in everyday life to support agriculture and food production. Most importantly, the competition should be accurate, science-based, and clearly communicate the applications or benefits of biotechnology to society. You may present your reel in Filipino, English, or Taglish, and you are free to explore different creative formats. The reel must also be an original work and must not have been previously published, awarded, or submitted to another competition. And of course, entries containing offensive, defamatory, discriminatory, plagiarized, or misleading content will be disqualified. One important reminder regarding the use of AI. AI tools may be used during the creative process, but the final submission must remain primarily the participant's own original work. The use of AI-generated images, videos, voiceovers, or other AI-generated media as part of the submitted entry is strictly prohibited. For the technical requirements, the reel should be 60 to 90 seconds long in vertical format with a 9 by 16 aspect ratio and submitted in MP4 or MOV format. For submission, participants will need to submit their entries through a Google Drive link to meetings@ISAAA.org. The Google Drive folder should contain 4 things: your video, your caption, participant details, and the signed informed consent form. For the caption, do not forget to include our official hashtag, #BiotechForReal, together with #National Biotechnology Week 2026 and #PinoyBiotech. Entries will be evaluated by a panel of judges based on 4 criteria: accuracy and relevance, creativity and originality, storytelling and audience engagement, and overall production quality and visual appeal. The top 3 finalists will receive cash prizes: 10,000 pesos for third place, 12,000 pesos for second place, and 15,000 pesos for first place. So mark your calendars. The deadline for submission is September 12, 2026 at 11:59 p.m. Philippine time. Judging will take place from September 13 to 18, and the winners will be officially announced during the celebration of National Biotechnology Week. Further details about the awarding will be announced soon. And that covers the key mechanics for the Biotech for Real. For complete competition mechanics, please take a moment to scan the QR code on your screen or access the link provided at the bottom of the QR code. We highly encourage everyone to review the full mechanics before preparing and submitting your entry. So get your ideas ready, be creative, and most importantly, make biotechnology real. So before we wrap up today's webinar, we would like to ask everyone to please accomplish our evaluation form to receive your certificate of participation. Simply scan the QR code flash on your screens or visit the link provided. And of course, we would like to extend our sincere gratitude and appreciation to our resource speakers, Dr. Maribel Zaperteza and Dr. Lloyd Bandinado, for sharing their valuable expertise and insights on agri-biotechnology and content creation. Thank you, Dr. Zaperteza and Dr. Balinado, for being part of this important event. We are truly grateful to have you with us today, and we look forward to more opportunities to work and collaborate with you in the future. And with that, we officially conclude the webinar launch of Biotech for Real, Real Making Competition on Agri-Biotech Applications. Thank you to everyone who joined us today and took the first step toward becoming a voice for science and biotechnology. Invite your classmates, friends, colleagues, and fellow content creators to join the competition. Once again, thank you very much for joining us. We wish everyone the best of luck, and we are excited to see your stories, your creativity, and of course, your award-winning reels. Again, this is Janina Skasura from ISAAA Inc. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.